The winter air bit at my skin as I stood outside the Lumiere Art Gallery, clutching my phone with trembling fingers. My breath came out in visible puffs, mixing with the exhaust from the line of luxury cars dropping off guests in designer coats and glittering jewelry. I adjusted my maternity sweater for the third time, trying to smooth down the fabric over my small but undeniable baby bump. It didn't help. The security guard at the entrance had already noticed me, and his expression made my stomach twist with anxiety. "Sir, I'm sorry, but this is a private exhibition," he said, his tone flat and dismissive. His eyes swept over me from head to toe, lingering on my pregnant belly with barely concealed distaste. I felt heat rise to my cheeks, a mixture of embarrassment and indignation. I pulled out my phone, fingers fumbling as I navigated to my email. "I have an invitation. My husband sent me tickets. Look right here." The guard didn't even glance at my screen. "We don't allow your kind here." The words hit me like a physical blow. My kind. He meant Omegas, or maybe he meant pregnant people. Either way, the message was crystal clear. I wasn't welcome. Behind me, a couple in matching fur-trimmed coats whispered to each other, their eyes flicking toward me with a mixture of pity and annoyance. I was holding up the line. I was making a scene. I was exactly what they thought I was, inappropriate for their sophisticated world. "But I booked these tickets weeks ago," I protested, hating how small my voice sounded. "My husband specifically wanted me to see this collection. The artist is my favorite." "Step aside, please. You're blocking the entrance." The guard's hand moved to his radio. A clear threat. One call and I'd probably have actual police escorting me away from the building. Through the glass doors, I could see the paintings I'd been dreaming about for months. The rich colors, the bold brushstrokes, the emotional depth that had made this artist my absolute favorite. Rain had surprised me with these tickets 2 weeks ago, kissing my forehead and telling me to go enjoy myself, to take a break from nursery preparations and doctor's appointments. He'd been so excited for me, his gray eyes lighting up in that rare way that still made my heart skip. But he hadn't told me he'd be here too. Rain kept his professional life intensely private, maintaining an anonymous identity in the art world. Despite being one of the most influential collectors in the city, nobody knew his face. Nobody knew his real name in these circles. He was just the collector, mysterious, powerful and untouchable. And I was just Leon, a pregnant Omega standing on a cold sidewalk, fighting back tears. "Move along," the guard repeated, stepping forward with enough force that I instinctively backed up. My heel caught on the edge of the curb, and I stumbled slightly. Nobody reached out to steady me. The elegant couple behind me simply walked around, giving me a wide berth as if my failure was contagious. I turned away, blinking rapidly to keep the tears from falling. I wouldn't cry here. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out with shaking hands. "Rain. How's the gallery, love? Are the paintings everything you hoped for?" My throat tightened. What was I supposed to say? That I never made it past the front door? That their security decided I wasn't good enough to breathe the same air as their precious artwork? I locked my phone without responding and shoved it back into my pocket. A taxi was pulling up to the corner and I raised my hand to flag it down. All I wanted was to go home, curl up on our couch and pretend this entire humiliating afternoon had never happened. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that at that exact moment, Rain was inside the gallery's VIP section, standing in front of a stunning portrait of a mother and child. His assistant, Marcus, had just approached with a tablet, ready to confirm the details of my arrival. "Sir, I've checked the entry logs. There's no record of Mr. Leon Calloway entering the building." Rain's head turned sharply. "What do you mean? He should have arrived 20 minutes ago." Marcus hesitated, fingers flying across his tablet. "According to the system, he never came through the main entrance. Should I call him?" But Rain was already moving, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor, as he strode toward the security office. Something was wrong. I was punctual to a fault, excited about this exhibition for weeks. There was no way I'd simply skip it without calling him first. "Pull up the exterior camera footage from the last 30 minutes. He ordered the security supervisor, his voice carrying that particular edge that made people jump to obey. The supervisor scrambled to comply, and within seconds multiple screens flickered to life, showing different angles of the gallery entrance. Rain's eyes scanned the footage until they locked onto a familiar figure. Me. Standing at the entrance, showing my phone to the guard. The timestamp showed 18 minutes ago. He watched, his jaw tightening with each passing second. As the scene unfolded in silent digital record, the guard's dismissive gesture. My obvious distress. The way I'd stumbled backward. The couple who'd walked around me like I was invisible. "Zoom in on that guard's badge," Rain said, his voice dangerously quiet. The supervisor complied, and the name became clear. Derek Simmons. Senior security personnel. "Get me Mr. Lowell. Now." Rain's words were clipped, controlled, but Marcus knew that tone. His boss was furious in a way that meant someone's entire career was about to end. Marcus pulled out his phone, already dialing the gallery director's private line. "Sir, Mr. Calloway is requesting your immediate presence in the security office. It's urgent." While Marcus made the call, Rain replayed the footage one more time, watching me walk away with slumped shoulders, my hand protectively over my stomach where our child grew. Every instinct in him roared to protect, to defend, to destroy anyone who dare make his Omega feel worthless. I was the most important person in his world. I was carrying his child. I was brilliant, kind, and more deserving of respect than every pompous art collector in this building combined. And someone had turned me away like garbage. Rain pulled out his own phone and typed a quick message to me, keeping his tone light even as rage simmered beneath his skin. He didn't want me to know yet that he'd witnessed my humiliation. First, as he was going to handle this, then he'd come home and make sure I knew exactly how valued and loved I was. But Derek Simmons? Mr. Lowell? The entire security infrastructure that had allowed this to happen, they were going to learn a very expensive lesson about consequences. I paid the taxi driver with trembling hands and practically ran up the steps to our brownstone, desperate to get inside before the tears finally broke free. Our home was a sanctuary, 3 stories of warmth and safety that Rain had insisted on buying when we first got married. "You need space to create," he'd said, gesturing to what would become my art studio on the 3rd floor. "And our children need a garden to play in." Now I stumbled through the front door and collapsed onto our leather couch, finally letting the sobs come. They tore out of me in ugly, gasping waves. I cried for the humiliation, for the way that guard had looked at me like I was contaminating his precious gallery, for the couple who treated me as invisible, but mostly I cried because I felt so utterly powerless. This wasn't the first time I'd faced discrimination for being an Omega, but pregnancy had made it so much worse. People saw my belly and made instant judgments about my worth, my intelligence, my right to exist in certain spaces. I dragged myself to the kitchen and gulped down water straight from the tap, trying to calm my racing heart. The baby kicked, a small flutter against my ribs, and I pressed my hand to the spot. "I'm sorry," I whispered to my unborn child. "I'm sorry the world is like this sometimes." The rational part of my brain knew I should call Rain, explain what happened, let him comfort me. But shame held me back. I didn't want him to see me as weak, as someone who couldn't even attend an art exhibition without falling apart. He was so strong, so confident, so completely unbothered by other people's opinions. What would he think of his Omega husband sobbing on the couch over a security guard's loss? I just convinced myself to take a shower and try to pull myself together when I heard the distinctive click of our front door unlocking. My heart lurched. Rain wasn't supposed to be home for hours. He'd mentioned business meetings that would run until evening at the earliest. He appeared in the living room doorway, and one look at his face told me everything. His expression was carefully neutral, but I'd been married to him for 3 years. I knew the signs, the slight tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw was set just a fraction too tight, the dangerous calm in his storm gray eyes. This was Rain at his most controlled, which paradoxically meant he was absolutely furious about something. "Leon." My name was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of a command. I sat up straighter, hastily wiping at my face. "Rain, you're home early. I thought you had meetings. What happened at the gallery?" He moved toward me with predatory grace, shrugging off his charcoal suit jacket and loosening his tie. Each movement was precise, controlled, giving me time to answer before he reached me. My stomach dropped. "How did you—" "The truth, Leon. I need you to tell me exactly what happened." He sat beside me close enough that I could smell his distinctive scent. Cedarwood and something smoky that I'd never been able to identify. It was uniquely Rain, and usually it comforted me. Right now it made me want to both curl into his arms and run away from the intensity radiating off him. I tried to deflect. Nothing important. I just felt tired. So I decided to come home instead. Leon, his hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. Please don't lie to me. I saw the security footage. Oh no. Of course he had. Rain had connections everywhere in the art world, and the Lumiere Gallery had been desperate for his patronage for years. He'd probably walked into their security office and demanded to see every camera angle. The fight went out of me. I couldn't get in, I admitted, my voice cracking on the words. The security guard took one look at me and decided I didn't belong there. He said they don't allow my kind at private exhibitions. When I tried to show him my invitation, he threatened to call the police if I didn't leave. Rain went very, very still. If I hadn't been watching so closely, I might have missed the way his pupils dilated, the minute tightening of his fingers against my skin. He threatened you with police punishments? While you're 6 months pregnant, it doesn't matter. It absolutely matters. His voice dropped to that particular register that sent chills down my spine. The alpha dominance that he rarely let surface but that lived just beneath his polished exterior. You are my husband. You're carrying my child. That guard had no authority, no right, no justification to treat you that way. Before I could respond, he pulled me into his arms. The embrace was tight, almost desperate, his face buried in my hair. I felt him inhale deeply, taking in my scent the way alphas do when they're trying to calm their protective instincts. My own body responded instinctively, some of the tension draining from my muscles as his presence surrounded me. I should have been with you, he murmured against my temple. I should have escorted you personally instead of trying to maintain my anonymous image. This is my fault. No, Rain. That's not. I'm going to fix this. He pulled back enough to look me in the eyes, and what I saw there made my breath catch. Determination, fury, and underneath it all, a fierce protectiveness that reminded me exactly why I'd fallen in love with this alpha. That gallery is going to answer for what they did. So is every person who was complicit in your humiliation. Please don't make a big deal out of this. I begged, even though I knew it was futile. I just want to forget it happened. Rain's expression softened slightly. He kissed my forehead, then my nose, then my lips, gentle, reverent touches that made my eyes sting with fresh tears. Leon, love, listen to me. This isn't about making a scene or seeking revenge. This is about basic human dignity. You deserve to see those paintings. You deserve to be treated with respect. And if I don't stand up for you, if I let this slide, what message does that send? That it's acceptable to discriminate against pregnant omegas? That my own husband's comfort and safety matter less than maintaining peace? I had no answer to that. He was right as much as I hated to admit it. Go take a warm bath, he said, helping me to my feet. I'll make you tea and bring it up. We'll talk more after you've rested. I nodded, too emotionally exhausted to argue. As I climbed the stairs to our bedroom, I heard him on the phone, his voice low and controlled but edged with steel. Marcus, I need the complete employment history of Derek Simmons. And get me Mr. Lowell's personal cell number. We're going to have a conversation about liability and consequences. Sunlight streamed through our bedroom windows and I woke to the smell of coffee and something sweet baking downstairs. For a moment I was disoriented. Rain rarely cooked, preferring to order from our favorite restaurants or let me experiment in the kitchen. Then yesterday's events came flooding back and I groaned, pulling a pillow over my face. The bedroom door opened quietly. I heard that, Rain said, amusement coloring his voice. Are you hiding from me or from the world in general? Both, I mumbled into the pillow. Also from responsibilities, adulting, and human interaction. The mattress dipped as he sat beside me, gently tugging the pillow away. He was already dressed for the day in one of his impeccable three-piece suits, but his hair was slightly mussed, and there were faint shadows under his eyes. Did you sleep at all? I asked, reaching up to trace the dark circles with my fingertips. A few hours. He caught my hand and pressed a kiss to my palm. I had some calls to make, emails to send. Nothing you need to worry about. I struggled to sit up, and he immediately adjusted the pillows behind me, ever attentive to my comfort. What did you do, Rain? Had some productive conversations. His smile was mysterious, neither confirming nor denying my suspicions. Are you hungry? I made pancakes. Well, I attempted pancakes. They're edible, which I'm counting as a victory. Despite everything, I laughed. Rain in the kitchen was a rare and usually disastrous event. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. He helped me out of bed, steadying me when I swayed slightly. Pregnancy had made my balance unpredictable, something that still frustrated me. Besides, I need to leave soon for the office and I wanted to make sure you ate properly first. We made our way downstairs, and I had to admit the pancakes weren't bad. A little burnt around the edges, but the thought counted. As I ate, Rain watched me with an intensity that made me self-conscious. Stop staring, I said, pointing my fork at him. You're making me nervous. I'm appreciating my beautiful husband. But there was something else in his expression, something calculating that made me wonder what exactly those midnight phone calls had accomplished. After breakfast, he kissed me goodbye with unusual lingering attention, as if memorizing the moment. I love you, he said against my lips. Remember that? Whatever happens today. That's ominous, I replied, but he was already heading for the door, briefcase in hand. The morning passed slowly. I tried to focus on organizing the nursery, sorting tiny clothes and assembling furniture, but my mind kept wandering back to the gallery incident. Around 11, my phone started buzzing with messages from my friend Jenna. Leon, are you seeing this? Jenna, turn on the news right now. Jenna, or check social media. It's everywhere. Confused, I grabbed my laptop and opened Twitter. The trending topics made my heart stop. Lumiere Gallery was number 3, right below some celebrity scandal and a political debate. I clicked on it with shaking hands, and hundreds of tweets loaded, all discussing the same breaking news story. Breaking. Prestigious Lumiere Art Gallery issues. Public apology after staff discriminates against pregnant visitor. I clicked on the attached video. It showed Mr. Lowell, the gallery's director, standing at a podium in what appeared to be a hastily arranged press conference. He looked pale and uncomfortable, reading from a prepared statement. Yesterday afternoon, a pregnant visitor to our gallery was denied entry by our security personnel. This individual had a valid invitation and every right to attend our exhibition. The treatment they received was unacceptable, discriminatory, and in direct violation of both our gallery's values and basic human decency. I want to personally and publicly apologize to this individual and their family. The security staff member involved has been terminated, and we are conducting a full review of our admission policies to ensure nothing like this ever happens again. The camera flashes were blinding as reporters shouted questions. Lowell held up a hand for silence. Furthermore, we are extending a personal invitation to the affected individual to return to our gallery for a private viewing at their convenience, with full VIP treatment. We hope this small gesture can begin to make amends for the distress we caused. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the laptop. The articles carefully avoided naming me directly, only referring to the spouse of an influential art collector who wishes to remain anonymous. But I knew everyone in the art world would connect the dots. My phone rang. Jenna, oh my God. Leon, this is you, isn't it? She didn't wait for confirmation. Your mysterious husband is the anonymous collector everyone's been speculating about for years. The one who bought the Rothko last year for $8 million. The one who basically funds half the exhibitions in the city. I need to call you back. I hung up before she could protest. My hands hovered over Rain's contact, but before I could call him, a text arrived. Rain, I assume you've seen the news. We should talk when I get home. For now, know that I meant every word I said last night. You deserve respect. They needed to learn that. I sat there on the nursery floor, surrounded by unassembled furniture and tiny baby clothes, trying to process what had just happened. Rain had done this. Somehow, in the space of 12 hours, he'd brought one the city's most prestigious galleries to its knees, made them publicly apologize, cost someone their job. Part of me was horrified at the magnitude of the response. But another part, a part I wasn't entirely proud of, felt vindicated, seen, protected in a way I'd never experienced before. My phone buzzed again. Another news alert. This time it was an op-ed in a major art publication. The Lumiere incident. When will art institutions stop discriminating against pregnant people and omegas? Then another, anonymous collector flex. How one phone call changed gallery policy forever. I realized with growing shock that Rain hadn't just gotten me an apology. He'd started a conversation. Journalists were now questioning admission policies at galleries across the city. Other Omegas were sharing their own stories of discrimination on social media. What had felt like my private humiliation was becoming a catalyst for actual change. When Rain finally came home that evening, I was waiting in the living room, news articles still open on my laptop. "You started a revolution," I said as he walked through the door. He smiled, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his entire face. "No, love. I just made sure the world knows what I've always known, that you're worth fighting for." And despite all my complicated feelings about what had transpired, I believed him. Evening settled over the city like a heavy blanket, casting long shadows through our living room windows. I sat curled on the couch, laptop balanced precariously on my knees, refreshing news sites compulsively. Each new article felt surreal. My private humiliation had become a public scandal, and I didn't know how to process it. The gallery incident was trending on 3 different platforms, with art critics and social commentators weighing in on discrimination in cultural institutions. I heard Rain's key and the lock before the door swung open. He paused in the entryway, taking in my position on the couch, the glow of the laptop screen illuminating my face. Our eyes met, and I saw understanding flash across his features. He knew I'd seen everything. "So you're aware," he said simply, shrugging off his coat with deliberate care. Not a question, a statement. I stood, clutching my laptop like a shield. "Aware? Rain, the entire art world is talking about this. There are think pieces, op-eds, someone even started a hashtag." My voice climbed higher with each sentence. "You brought down one of the most powerful galleries in the city. How did you even—" "I made a phone call." He crossed the room with measured steps, each movement radiating controlled power. "One conversation with Mr. Lowell. That's all it took." But the press conference? The public statement? The firing? I gestured wildly at the screen, where Lowell's pale, sweating face was frozen mid-apology. "This is massive, Rain. This could expose you. People will start connecting dots, figuring out who you really are. Let them try." His voice carried that edge of alpha authority that made my knees weak. "My legal team has been maintaining my anonymity for years. One incident won't compromise that." He reached for me, fingers gentle as they traced my jawline. "Besides, protecting you matters more than protecting my privacy." The casual certainty in his words stole my breath. "What exactly did you say to him?" Rain's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. I explained the situation, reminded him that the Callaway collection provides 30% of his annual operating budget, asked if he truly wanted to risk losing that over one security guard's bigotry. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. Then I gave him a choice: public accountability and reform, or complete financial withdrawal. He had 6 hours to decide. "You gave him an ultimatum." My heart was racing, torn between shock and something that felt dangerously close to satisfaction. "I gave him consequences. There's a difference." Rain's other hand settled on my hip, steadying me. "Actions have repercussions, Leon." He allowed a culture where pregnant Omegas could be turned aim like trash. "That's not just bad policy, it's moral bankruptcy." Someone needed to hold him accountable. I sagged against him, all the fight draining out of me. "I've never had anyone fight for me like this before." "Then you've never been properly valued." He pulled me closer, his scent cedarwood and smoke wrapping around me like armor. "You're my partner, my equal. The person I chose build a life with. When someone disrespects you, they disrespect us both. I won't tolerate that." We stood there in the dimming light, wrapped in each other, until my laptop chimed with another news alert. Rain glanced at the screen over my shoulder. "They're already implementing new training programs," he noted with satisfaction. "Sensitivity courses for all staff, updated mission policies, third-party oversight of security protocols." His hand splayed across my lower back, protective and possessive. "Good. Maybe next time a pregnant person visits, they'll actually be welcomed." "You really threatened to destroy them." I promised to withdraw my support if they didn't change. They chose to change. He tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his intense gaze. "I need you to understand something, Leanne. I will always protect you. Always. Even if it means burning down institutions." ending careers or making enemies. You and our child come first. Before art, before business, before everything. The fierce devotion in his words made my eyes sting. I love you, I know. His kiss was thorough, claiming, leaving no doubt about his feelings. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. Now, are you going to keep precinct news sites, or shall we have dinner? I laughed shakily. Dinner? Definitely dinner. As we moved toward the kitchen, Rain pulled something from his briefcase, a cream-colored envelope, heavy and expensive. This arrived by courier an hour ago. I turned it over in my hands, noting the embossed Lumiere Gallery logo. Inside, written in actual calligraphy that must have cost a fortune, was a formal invitation. Mr. Leon Calloway, you are cordially invited to an exclusive private viewing at Lumiere Art Gallery. This invitation is reserved exclusively for you and your honored guest. Red carpet reception. VIP treatment. Our sincerest apologies and gratitude for your understanding. The paper trembled in my grip. They want me to come back. They're begging you to come back. Rain corrected, reading over my shoulder. Lowell knows this is his only chance at redemption. A public display of respect for the person his staff wronged. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, hands settling protectively over my stomach. You don't have to go if you don't want to. You don't owe them anything. I leaned back into his strength, considering, part of me wanted to refuse out of spite to let them stew in their shame. But another part, the part that had dreamed of seeing those paintings for months, whispered that going back would be its own kind of victory. If I go, I said slowly, you're coming with me, obviously. His breath was warm against my ear. You think I'd let you walk back into that building alone? We'll go together. Let them see exactly who you belong to. Let them understand the magnitude of their mistake. A smile tugged at my lips despite everything. You're very possessive when you're protective. You're very beautiful when you're carrying my child. He turned me in his arms, one hand cupping my face while the other remained on my bump. I spent 3 years hiding in the shadows of the art world, maintaining my mysterious collector persona. But if anyone ever makes you feel less than extraordinary again, I'll burn that anonymity to the ground just to make sure the world knows you're mine. The raw honesty in his declaration made my knees weak. I pulled him down for another kiss, pouring everything I felt into the connection. Gratitude, love, trust, and a fierce pride in having an alpha who would move mountains for me. When we finally made it to the kitchen, my laptop still glowing with news alerts in the other room, I felt something shift inside me. The humiliation of yesterday was transforming into something else entirely, not revenge. Rain had handled that. But reclamation, taking back the power that security guard had tried to strip away. When should we go? I asked, studying the invitation again. Rain pulled ingredients from the refrigerator, already planning our meal with the same strategic precision he brought to everything. Whenever you're ready. They've left the date open-ended. He glanced at me, one eyebrow raised, though I'd suggest we make them wait a few days. Let the anticipation build. Let them wonder if you'll actually show up. I grinned. My alpha was devious when he wanted to be. Friday, I decided. Give them enough time to panic properly. Perfect. Rain's answering smile was sharp and satisfied. I'll have my tailor prepare something special. If we're making a statement, we might as well make it memorable. Friday arrived, wrapped in autumn chill and nervous anticipation. I'd changed outfits 3 times before settling on tailored maternity slacks in charcoal gray and a cashmere sweater in deep sapphire that somehow made my skin glow. The color brought out the green flecks in my hazel eyes, and more importantly, it draped beautifully over my 6-month bump without trying to hide it. Rain emerged from his dressing room in a midnight blue suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, custom-fitted to emphasize his broad shoulders and lean build. He looked like he'd stepped off a main cover, powerful, elegant, untouchable. You're staring, he observed, adjusting his cufflinks with practiced ease. You're worth staring at. I crossed the bedroom, reaching up to straighten his already perfect tie. Are you sure about this? We could still cancel. Not a chance. His hands settled on my waist, thumbs tracing small circles through the cashmere. This is your moment, Leon. Your vindication. I'm just the arm candy, I snorted. Right. The mysterious multimillionaire collector is just arm candy. Today I'm your husband first. He pressed a kiss to my temple. Everything else is secondary. Ready? The drive to the gallery felt both endless and too short. Marcus, Rain's assistant, had arranged for a car service, a sleek black sedan with tinted windows that screamed wealth and privacy. I watched the city slide past, my hand clasped tightly in Rain's, his thumb stroking reassuring patterns across my knuckles. What if they're only being nice because they're scared of you? I asked as we turned onto the gallery street. Then they've learned an important lesson about consequences. Rain squeezed my hand. But I think you'll find their contrition goes deeper than fear. Lowell's career almost ended. He knows how close he came to losing everything. That kind of experience changes people. The car pulled up to the gallery entrance, and my breath caught. They hadn't been exaggerating about the red carpet. An actual crimson runner stretched from the curb to the glass doors, flanked by velvet ropes and perfectly uniformed staff members standing at attention. Photographers waited at a respectful distance, kept at bay by additional security. Oh God. I breathed. This is really happening. We can still leave. Rain's voice was steady, giving me an out even though I knew he wanted me to see this through. I squared my shoulders. No. I want to do this. Our driver opened the door, and Rain stepped out first, turning to offer me his hand. The moment I emerged from the car, camera flashes exploded like tiny supernovas. I instinctively ducked my head, but Rain's hand on my lower back steadied me. Head up, he murmured. Let them see you? You have nothing to be ashamed of. Mr. Lowell materialized at the carpet's end, looking older than he had in the press conference footage. His smile was genuine but strained, his handshake slightly too firm when he greeted Rain. Mr. Calloway. Mr. Lian. Welcome. We're deeply honored by your presence. His eyes flickered between us, clearly trying to reconcile the mysterious collector with the man before him, while maintaining professional discretion. Please, if you'll follow me. The interior of the gallery had been transformed. Soft classical music played from hidden speakers. The harsh overhead lighting had been replaced with warm, focused spots that made each painting glow like jewels. And the staff, every single person we passed, smiled with genuine warmth, several nodding respectfully in my direction. The exhibition is in the East Wing, Lowell explained, gesturing gracefully. We've reserved it entirely for your private viewing. No interruptions, no crowds. Take all the time you need. Walking through those doors felt like crossing a threshold between worlds. Last time I'd been here, I'd stood outside in the cold, humiliated and rejected. Now I glided across polished marble floors with my alpha at my side, surrounded by respect and deference. The reversal was dizzying. The paintings were even more spectacular than I'd imagined. Bold, emotional pieces that captured moments of raw humanity, joy, grief, love, desperation, all rendered in colors that seemed to vibrate with life. I moved from piece to piece, slowly, drinking in every detail while Rain followed at a respectful distance, giving me space to experience the art on my own terms. Until I reached the far wall and stopped dead. The painting showed a mother cradling her newborn, their faces close together in the soft glow of early morning light. The artist had captured that precise moment of exhausted, overwhelming love. The mother's expression a perfect blend of wonder and fierce protectiveness. Something about the intimacy of it, the vulnerability, made my throat tighten.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Rain's voice came from just behind me. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. He moved closer, his chest against my back, arms coming around to rest over my bump. That's how I picture you, he said softly. In a few months, holding our baby. That same expression, like you've discovered something precious and terrifying and perfect all at once. Tears spilled down my cheeks before I could stop them. You can't say things like that while I'm pregnant. My hormones can't handle it. His quiet laugh rumbled through me. Noted, though I can't promise to stop. We stood there for a long moment, just breathing together, my hands covering his where they rested on my stomach. Around us, the gallery was silent except for distant classical music and our combined heartbeats. Eventually Lowell appeared in the doorway, clearing his throat softly. Mr. Lian, if I might have a word. Privately, I glanced at Rain, who nodded encouragement. I'll be right here. Lowell led me to a small sitting area. Elegant chairs arranged around a low table. He didn't sit, instead standing with his hands clasped, looking remarkably like a man at confession. I won't insult you with more apologies, he began. You've heard enough of those, and words feel inadequate for what occurred. He took a breath. What I will say is this. A gallery has been operating for 37 years. In that time, we prided ourselves on accessibility and cultural contribution. But somewhere along the way, we became gatekeepers instead of guides. We started determining who deserved access to art based on appearance, status, presentation. He met my eyes directly. Your experience was a symptom of a much larger problem. One I'd been blind to because it never affected me personally. You've given us an opportunity to do better. And I intend to ensure we do. I studied his face, looking for signs of performance or manipulation. All I saw was tired sincerity. Actions matter more than promises, I said finally. Agreed. He pulled a folder from inside his jacket. Which is why I wanted to show you this. Our new policies, already implemented. Anti-discrimination training for all staff. Completed last week. A formal complaint process with third-party review, and a diversity initiative for our hiring practices. He offered me the folder. I'd welcome your feedback if you're willing to provide it. Taking the folder felt like accepting a treaty. Not forgiveness, not yet, but acknowledgement that change was possible. I'll read it, I promised. When Lowell left us alone again, Rain rejoined me, reading my expression accurately. How do you feel? Like maybe something good came from something terrible. I leaned into his warmth. That's enough for today. Then let's go home. He guided me toward the exit, pausing only when we passed that mother and child painting one more time. I didn't know it yet, but that painting was already being carefully wrapped for delivery. 3 weeks passed in a blur of nursery preparations and baby classes. The gallery incident faded from headlines, replaced by newer scandals and fresher controversies. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Doctor's appointments, furniture assembly, midnight cravings that sent Rain scrambling to find 24-hour bakeries. I'd finally mastered the art of putting together the complicated crib, though it had taken 3 failed attempts and 1 minor meltdown involving incomprehensible instructions in Swedish. The nursery was coming together beautifully. Soft gray walls, white furniture, cheerful yellow accents that worked for any gender. We decided to wait until birth to find out if we were having a son or daughter. Wanting that surprise moment. Thursday afternoon found me on my hands and knees, organizing board books by color because pregnancy brain had convinced me this was critically important. I was debating whether green should come before blue when I heard the front door open, followed by unfamiliar voices. Carefully now watched the doorframe. I struggled to my feet, one hand supporting my now prominent belly, and waddled to the hallway. Rain stood in the entryway directing 2 professional movers who were maneuvering an enormous wrapped package with extreme care. What's going on? I asked, bewildered. Rain's expression was carefully neutral, but his eyes held barely suppressed excitement. Delivery. For the nursery. We already bought everything we need. I stopped as the movers navigated the stairs, their package clearly destined for the room I'd just left. Rain. What did you do? You'll see. He followed the movers upstairs, leaving me to trail behind at my slower, pregnant pace. By the time I reached the nursery, they'd positioned the package against the main wall and were departing with professional efficiency. Rain tipped them generously, waiting until their footsteps faded before turning to me with an expression that was almost boyish in its anticipation. Well? He gestured to the package. Open it. My hands shook as I found the edge of the wrapping paper expensive. Thick stock that tore reluctantly. Beneath was museum-quality protective covering, then bubble wrap, then finally, I gasped, stumbling backward into Rain's waiting arms. The mother and child painting from the gallery hung before me, even more stunning in our home than it had been under gallery lights. The morning glow seemed to emanate from the canvas itself, the mother's expression of fierce, tender love stopping my breath. How when words failed entirely, Rain steadied me, his chin resting on my shoulder. I contacted the artist the day after our gallery visit, made an offer they couldn't refuse. It arrived this morning while you were at your doctor's appointment. His arms tightened around me. I wanted it to be a surprise. This must have cost. I couldn't even finish the sentence. Pieces like this sold for hundreds of thousands, sometimes more, worth every penny. His hand splayed across my bump, where our baby was currently doing what felt like gymnastics. I want our child to grow up seeing this, understanding that they're loved, protected, valued. that their parents fought for dignity and won. I turned in his arms, tears streaming freely now. You're going to make me cry all over your expensive shirt. I have others. But his own eyes looked suspiciously bright. Do you like it? Like it? I laughed through my tears. Rain, it's perfect. It's the most thoughtful, ridiculous, overwhelming gift anyone's ever given me. He kissed me then, slow and deep, one hand cradling my face while the other remained protectively over our baby. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. You deserve beautiful things, Leon. You deserve to walk into any gallery, any space, any room and be welcomed, celebrated, respected. His thumb traced my cheekbone. If I could kid you the whole world, I would. Since I can't, I'll settle for giving you moments of beauty, reminders that you matter. I don't need expensive paintings to know I matter. I placed my hand over his heart, feeling its steady rhythm. I just need you. You have me. Always. He glanced at the painting, then back to my face. But you get the art anyway, because I'm hopelessly in love with you, and I have more money than sense. I burst out laughing, the sound echoing through our partially finished nursery. You're ridiculous. I'm devoted. He guided me to the rocking chair we'd positioned by the window and settled me into it, kneeling beside me so we were eye level. In 2 months we're going to the parents. Our lives are going to change in ways we can't even imagine. But some things will stay constant. My commitment to you, my determination to build a world where our child never faces the discrimination you experienced. My absolutely unwavering belief that you are the best decision I ever made. My hand found his, fingers interlacing. When did you get so good with words? When I met someone worth finding the right words for. He pressed a kiss to my knuckles. Now shall we hang this properly? I have a spirit level in my office. We spent the next hour getting the painting positioned exactly right, high enough to be visible from the doorway, centered on the wall, perfectly level. Rain insisted on doing the actual hanging while I supervised from the safety of the rocking chair, pointing out when he drifted half an inch to the left. When it was finally secure, we both sat back to admire it. The afternoon light streaming through the window made the painting's colors come alive, the mother's expression shifting subtly depending on the angle. Our story, Rain said quietly. Every challenge we faced, every battle we fought, every moment we chose each other, it's all leading here, to this room, to this baby, to this family we're building. I reached for his hand, pulling him down beside the rocking chair. Tell me about the artist. What made you choose this particular piece? The vulnerability, he answered without hesitation. The way the mother looks, simultaneously strong and fragile, fierce and gentle. It reminded me of you carrying our child, facing discrimination, standing up for yourself even when it cost you comfort. You're the strongest person I know, Leon, and I want our baby to grow up seeing that strength reflected back at them. We sat together in the growing dusk, my hand in his, our baby moving between us, the painting watching over us like a benediction. Outside, the city continued its endless rhythm. Inside, in this quiet nursery with its half-assembled furniture and carefully chosen paint colors, we had everything that mattered. I love you, I whispered into the comfortable silence. I know. Rain's smile was soft, private, meant only for me. I've always known, from the moment you walked into that charity auction 3 years ago and told me my bid was economically irresponsible. It was irresponsible. 2 million for a sculpture? Worth it. It got your attention. He stood, pulling me carefully to my feet. Come on, let's order dinner. You've been craving Thai food all week. As we left the nursery, I glanced back one more time at the painting. Tomorrow we'd finish organizing. Tonight we'd eat pad thai and watch terrible television and feel our baby kick. Perfect didn't exist, but this, our messy, complicated, beautiful life, came pretty close.